All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to our Digital Transformation Toastmasters meeting. The very first thing I would ask is, could you please make sure that if you're not speaking, and nobody else should be but me right now, you look to the lower left corner of your screen and mute yourself with your mic. And then, of course, when you're ready to speak again, when you are ready to speak, make sure you unmute. Thank you so much. And this way, we won't hear any background noise. When you are speaking, please make sure that your cell phones or anything that dings or whistles is turned off so that we won't be distracted. Welcome, everybody. Our mission, our club mission, is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to leverage cutting-edge online communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth to thrive in today's technology-savvy world. One of the things that we do at Digital is we wave our hands instead of clapping. Clapping is distracting on video, it's loud, it hurts our ears, and it's really not very effective. So you will find us doing this a lot. This acknowledges our speakers and gives them credit for the confidence it took for them to stand up and speak. Where I'd like to just pause for a moment before I turn over control of the meeting to Sai is to welcome Sakti and ask you, why did you join us and what are your goals from being here tonight?
Thank you. So, okay, so there are two things here. Like I was, obviously, like I am in the IT field for almost like 15, 16 years. And also playing a role like project management, technical project management kind of roles. But always I feel challenging in order to, if I want to talk in public or if I want to give any presentation. So that is one of the key thing, like I wanted to join a Toastmaster. And more interestingly, this particular thing was like more related to technical area. So it's kind of a double bonus. It's not just the public speaking and more towards a specific field, and it's the happening field now, digital transformation, and we are hearing it everywhere. And that's one of the reasons that I joined here. So we'll learn more about the digital transformation, and also like we'll get confidence in speaking for presentations and all.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, thank you for taking time to join us, and you are in a wonderful and the perfect place to do that. And as we go along, whether you join us for one meeting or more meetings, you'll begin to see that we are all learning technology when it comes to being speakers and leaders online, for sure, without a doubt. All right, thank you. And just so you know, our VP membership, who is Michael's giving a speech. He'll also be checking in with you just to ask you any questions and be able to answer any questions that you might have about our club and the possibility of joining our club when you're ready.
Yep.
Great, thank you so much. All right, at this time, you're welcome. At this time, let's welcome our Toastmaster for the evening who graciously said yes to my invitation. Sai, thank you so much to be Toastmaster tonight. Sai.
Thank you, Madam President. So, the theme for today's meeting is a year in review. The year is almost coming to an end. You have 3 more weeks, 3 full weeks. And then it's time to really celebrate 2020. 2020 is going to be a momentous year for many reasons. Elections, 2020, such an interesting combination of numbers. And it's going to be a new beginning for all of us. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure we have all of our roles are filled up. So we have speaker 1 and speaker 2. That's great. We don't have evaluator 1 and 2. For whatever reason, Jorge is not here, and we don't have any signed evaluator 2. So, and Jay is said that he might be a table topics master in the beginning, but he has to leave by 1.
No, I can do table topics. I can do table topics. It'll if I do it ahead, like as the first thing before the speech.
We'll get started with table topics. So he can be the table topics master. Now,
yes.
I did not hear back from Jorge about today's meeting. So we might have to reshuffle here and double duty possibly. Linda, would you be kind enough to be evaluator 1 for Reka?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Linda. Let's give her a hand or a wave. And Elena is going to be evaluator 2 and the general evaluator. And Jay is the table topics master. And Linda is the timer, and we have our grammarian. So we have a full meeting right now. As of now, it's done. Okay. So it's customary for our different, role players to explain their roles. I'm the Toastmaster for the meeting today. For people who are new here, Toastmaster is what you call master of ceremonies, or the orchestrator or the conductor of the meeting. And to help me, we have a timer, a general evaluator, a grammarian, a table topics master. So I'm going to ask Linda to wear her timer's hat and explain to us her role.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. As the timer, I'll be timing a lot of what happens tonight, and it keeps everybody on pace. And so for table topics, if you're called on to answer a table topic question, I'll be timing you for 1 to 2 minutes. So we're hoping you make it all the way to 1 minute and not go past 2. And then the speakers, I have Reka for 5 to 7 minutes. So I'll be showing my clock for her for 5 to 7, and Michael for 10 minutes. And then the evaluators have 2 to 3 minutes to present their evaluations for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And our grammarian is also our president, Jolene. Jolene, do you want to explain the grammatical rules and the things that you're going to be doing today for the meeting?
I will. Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster, orchestrator. I love that. Master of ceremonies. Tonight, my role is to listen for interesting uses of the English language, as well as abominable uses of the English language that we might not ever want to repeat again. And I'll be calling those out nicely and kindly in a way that you probably won't want to do that again. I also have a word of the day. The word of the day is, and I'm doing this a little bit differently, so bear with me. Let me know if you can see this. For all of you tech people, please don't look at my screen. It's going to make you want to throw up. There's a lot on it, I know. Okay, so my word of the day is reflection. I chose reflection because there's something really special I do at the end of my year with my clients. I have them do a yearly reflection. It's really fascinating to help them look at their big and small accomplishments that they've created during the year, and inevitably they're always so proud of themselves, encouraged, and hopeful. And that's why I chose the word reflection. Reflection, the definition, the throwing back by a body or surface of light, heat, sound without absorbing it, or serious thought or consideration. Use in a sentence. She saw the reflection of her accomplishments, small and big, in 2019, and she felt proud. In addition to my listening for the word of the day and how many times you use it in a sentence, what I'm also going to be listening for are those pesky ahs, ahs, I don't knows, and filler words that get in the way of us giving really effective, strong, and powerful messages. And then I'll give my report at the end of our meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jolene. So I encourage every one of you to use the word of the day And the theme of today's meeting is well suited to use the word. So we have every aspect of the meeting covered. And we have Tammy here. Welcome, Tammy.
Welcome, Tammy. Hi,
So, great. So, Jay, are you ready to be our table topics master?
Yes, table topics master it is. I am your table topic master. Okay.
Take it away, Jay.
All right. So in your company or in your church or in your organization or whatever, any group that you have, what's the most enjoyable social event that you had, and what kind of topics did you talk about that really that you enjoyed talking with all these people? Just talking in groups or stuff like that. But social event.
Do you have a speaker in mind, Jay?
No, anyone. Just like maybe Thanksgiving, you went back home and you talked about American life. With American life, you talked about football, or with people you haven't seen in a long time, and you had a good dinner or Thanksgiving with. And what did you enjoy about it? What did you talk about?
I'll go, Jay. Thank you for asking a great question. One of the things that I did with my parents over the holidays is we played Ms. Monopoly. I requested a game, that we play a game together, because we typically don't do that. And I thought it would be fun. And instead of going to traditional Monopoly, which I played when I was a little girl, we played Ms. Monopoly. You can imagine Ms. Monopoly is all about women thriving in the world. It was an entirely different take on the game Monopoly while still having that same theme if you've ever played Monopoly. One of the things that I found really fascinating about it was that it focused on all of the inventions from way back in the early 1900s when women were the inventors. And it focused on women being successful and owning businesses and really thriving in the world. Even though it's a new game, the inventors went way back to the turn of the century. It was a really fun way for my family, my parents and I, to do something fun together, to laugh together, to have great memories together, and to start new memories together as well. So I encourage everybody to get Ms. Monopoly and celebrate women and girls. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, great. So these days, the world is getting a little colder, I guess. So were there any situations where you needed to talk to someone, but you wonder, should I email them? Should I walk up? Or should I wait for a social event? Or we just wanted to talk to him, but you have no idea who he is. So what did you did you spy on him? Did you check out his Facebook or LinkedIn, try to find out what he is? Were you ever in that kind of situation? Where you just needed to contact that person and just to get things done? Like, for example, you needed to contact me to get me in Toastmasters meetings or something like that. Someone did, and I'm in the meeting now. No, nothing. You never had to reach out to your brother to make him do stuff. Really? None of you?
Mike, you want to do it?
Repeat the question one time. I'm about to give a speech, but I'll do it.
Okay, so you had to reach out to someone, and he's just needed cooperation, but you have no idea what he is or what's his background, but you needed to like step out of his box and do something for you, and like have you been in that situation? Do you wait around the water cooler to talk with him, or do you ask for, do you find a mutual friend, and how did you overcome the situation?
So years ago, I was helping a nonprofit. I was the social media manager for a nonprofit, and I reached out to someone on the phone, and he was 70 years old, and he was out of Ohio, and his name was Cletus. And Cletus was a newspaper writer, and I was helping somebody cycle across the country to feed families, and she was actually turning 70 years old. So I convinced Cletus to drive 50 miles to meet my friend Patricia Hansen, who was cycling across the country to feed families. And it was an amazing experience. And at the time, I was kind of nervous about calling these people because I was cold calling them and talking about this journey that she was going on and trying to get them to donate money and time and energy and awareness. And it was a really amazing experience because I reached out to this person, and she still talks about Cletus. I go and see her every once in a while, and she talks about this newspaper writer that drove 50 miles to go and meet her and support her and write an article about her. He was getting ready to retire, and he was so inspired by Patricia. So reaching out of your comfort shell, getting out of your comfort shell, it was very rewarding. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay, so the next question is, as we move to the digital world, we're now hyper-connected. We're definitely hyper-connected. Obviously, I'm talking to someone in America and in Korea, and it's just amazing. Do you feel it's actually easier to approach new people in this hyper-connected communication reality, or is it actually easier to just say hi to your postman and mailman or garbage man and have a conversation? Anyone? You face it every day, right? Everyone's on Facebook and social media. And someone's online dating. I remember when I actually had to walk up to a girl and ask for a date. Have you any of them done that recently? It's all online dating. Yeah.
Well, I'll go.
Okay.
Okay, and this is going to be the last table topics because of the time.
Okay.
So, Facebook as a company is bigger than one of the biggest countries in the world. And the reason they're able to do that is they are connecting people from all continents, all corners of the world. In fact, Facebook has got more information about its citizens than some of the country's spy agencies. In spite of all of this, we as a society, have we made any progress? Can we randomly go somewhere and ask somebody for a date if you are in that position? Or go to a party and talk to somebody that you don't know? Has the tools, digital tools, really helped us be more connected? Unfortunately, my perception and my point of view is technologically we have made progress, but as a society, we are still comfortable being in our own shells and typing away inside computers instead of having the chivalry, etiquette, and the joy of meeting people in public and talking. We have not matured in that aspect. We have lost the art of letter writing, art of flowery introductions, even though we are Toastmasters. We have really lost the old ways. So my assessment or reflection of this is, in spite of all the digital tools we have only gone apart every day as the technology progresses. back to you, Table Topics Master. And wearing the hat of the Toastmaster, unfortunately, we have to finish there.
Ooh.
Want to take over the meeting. We have a few more important items, such as prepared speeches to be completed. Okay, so let me get started. The next speaker, she is giving her project from the manual Pathways Persuasive Influence. She is giving a project titled The Magic That Makes Leaders, Mentoring. Introduction to her speech. A mentor is your motivation who builds your confidence and recognizes and grows skills that a mentee has. Mentoring and coaching are integral to everybody's life. Let's look at why mentoring is important in every stage of life. And to talk about mentoring, it is Rekha.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, good day to my fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. Let's go back in history. In fact, let's go back a few centuries ago. The first mention of a mentor in history goes all the way back to Homer's Odyssey. Odysseus, who was the king of Ithaca, he and his wife Penelope had a son, Telemachus. Odysseus had to go and fight the Trojan War, but he had a decision to make. His very young son, who he would leave behind, needed somebody, a role model, who he could look up to when Odysseus was at war. So he entrusted his little son, Telemachus, to his very close friend, mentor. That's the first mention of mentor ever in history. And mentor over the years, when Odysseus was at war, gone away from the kingdom for about 20 years, helped Telemachus grow into a very fine young boy, and in many situations helped him with wisdom, with motivation, with nurture, and a lot more things that really helped the little boy grow up. Over time, mentor appears in his life in many cases as an incarnation, but that over history has become the root of what we see as mentoring today. If you look at any kind of modern day leadership, you will find mentoring an integral part. Many of us grew up with sports. We've all had coaches. We still see coaches in sports, in many, many other aspects of life. But a coach is very different from a mentor, because a coach is going to grow one of your skills, focus you on the skill, and help you expand that particular skill, versus a mentor is one who guides you, nurtures you, and makes you drive the growth. My first encounter as being a mentor was back in 10th grade, when I did not know then, but I had to mentor a fellow student. Tara was a very shy student. She was brilliant, but very shy. In her exam, she was much slower than the others, and so she was considered learning disabled. However, when I worked with her, I found a totally different side of her. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew everything. She, in my assessment, was just shy. She was slow in responding, but she knew her every subject. So I remember very proudly writing in my report about her that she knows everything. We just need to make sure that the exam time is extended for her so she has the time to complete her exams. Fast forward many years later, I was a mentor for another woman a few years ago. And I found that in that mentoring relationship, over time, it just fizzled away. And I tried to look at my mentoring experiences over the years, and what I found the core to a strong mentoring is if the mentee or the person who is being mentored takes a strong initiative in driving the conversation. Toastmasters is a great example of another leadership organization which has a very structured mentoring program. Many of you may or may not know about it. I did not know about it for months of being in a Toastmaster program. But then I want to take a moment to thank my current mentor, Jolene, because in my current journey, she has been a strong influence in driving me and making me who I am today. One thing that she always reminds me is how much I have to take an initiative to drive what I want to see and what I want to become. And that to me is the core of a strong mentoring program. Taking that into account, as part of this club, we also have a formal mentoring program. So if you are a new member to this club, you have been or you will be assigned a mentor. It doesn't matter that you have had experiences in other clubs or even in Toastmasters. This particular program is meant to make you welcomed into a team. Let you drive at least the first 3 speeches so that your learning path is still smooth in spite of you being in a different club. So if you're already a member, if you are a new member and you do not have a mentor, please reach out to me, your Vice President Education, because one of my responsibilities is to make sure that you do have a mentor. Going back to my experiences with mentoring, I want to also take a moment to say thank you to many of my mentors along the way, because not just in my work, but also in my regular life, I do have a lot of mentors, some of them very visible, some of them very invisible. And I have taken a lot from their lives, drawn upon their inspiration to become who I am. So if any one of you do not have mentors today, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to somebody who you look up to as a role model to be your mentor in your life. But if you're a member of this club, you will have at least one mentor. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Rekha, for capturing the essence of membership. In fact, Toastmaster is the biggest testament for mentor-mentee relationships. In fact, what I found out was there are 2 ways to say mentoree. One is mentor, mentoree, and mentee. So I've seen people use that word also. So yeah, it means both the words. Okay, please take a minute to give feedback to Rekha privately. And I hope everybody knows how to do a private feedback to her evaluation. Timer, would you kind enough to time us for a minute? Thank you. And as if you're all giving feedback, let me talk about the year. So a lot of people take the last few months, few weeks of this year during the holidays to journal, to capture, to reflect what's happened in the year. And it's a great way to take stock of where things are in people's life and what they want to do next in the next year. So I think I'm planning to do that as the year winds down, getting ready for the next year. And this will be, I will be sending you some 50 questions that people usually answer that triggers you to think in different directions. I'll share that with you. I was doing some research today about it. I found this. Thanks a lot, Linda. I think a minute is up. So our next speaker is giving an interesting project. First time I'm experiencing this in Pathways Manual. The title of his project is called An Author's Journey. And it's from the path or manual called specialty speeches. When the next speaker was 8 years old, he lived on a small lake and taught himself how to fly fish. Later in life, he learned about a famous author called Norman Maclean, who wrote a book, A River Runs Through It. This continued to fuel his lifetime addiction to fly fishing. The book is set in Montana between 1910 and 1935. It describes a life that is grounded in what now we call as traditional family values, with heavy emphasis on morals, character, and love of nature and fishing. He is going to share few passages carefully selected from this sacred book that's been compared to the classic Huckleberry Finn. Without further ado, Mike will do that. Take it away, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. In our family, there was no clear line between religion and fly fishing. We lived at the junction of great trout rivers in western Montana, and our father was a Presbyterian minister and a fly fisherman who tied his own flies and taught others. He told us about Christ's disciples being fishermen, and we were left to assume, as my brother and I did, that all class of fishermen on the Sea of Galilee were fly fishermen, and that John, the favorite, was a dry fly fisherman. Sunday mornings, Brother Paul and I went to Sunday school and then to morning services to hear our father preach, and in the evenings to Christian endeavors, and afterwards to evening services to hear our fathers preach again. In between, on Sunday afternoons, we had to study the Westminster Shorter Catechism for an hour and then recite before we could walk the hills with him while he unwound between services. Even so, in a typical week of our childhood, Paul and I probably received as many hours of instruction in fly fishing as we did in all other spiritual matters. After my brother and I became good fishermen, we realized that our father was not a great fly caster, but he was accurate and stylish and wore a glove on his casting hand. As he buttoned his glove in preparation to give us a lesson, he would say, "It's an art that is performed on a 4-count rhythm between 10 and 2 o'clock. As a Scot and a Presbyterian, my father believed that man by nature was a mess and had fallen from an original state of grace. Somehow, I early developed the notion that he had done this by falling from a tree. As for my father, I never knew whether he believed God was a mathematician, but he certainly believed God could count, and that only by picking God's rhythms were we able to regain power and beauty. Unlike many Presbyterians, he often used the word beautiful. After he buttoned his glove, he would hold his rod straight out in front of him, where it trembled with the beating of his heart. Although it was 8.5 feet long, it weighed only 4.5 ounces. It was made of split bamboo cane from the far-off Bay of Tonkin. My brother and I would have preferred to start learning how to fish by going out and catching a few, omitting entirely anything difficult or technical in the way of preparation that would take away from the fun. But it wasn't by way of fun that we were introduced to our father's art. If our father had his say, nobody who did not know how to fish would be allowed to disgrace a fish by catching him. If you never picked up a fly rod before, you will soon find it factual and theologically true that man by nature is a damn mess. Later in the book, Paul and Norman, the two boys, approached the Elkhorn Canyon to fly fish. The Elkhorn Canyon is so deep and narrow that a black cloud or a cloud and a half can constitute the sky. The black cloud and a half can pass on to sunshine, or it can make room for blacker clouds. From the bottom of the canyon, there is no way of seeing what is coming, but I had a feeling it wasn't sunshine. Suddenly, so many fish began to jump that it looked as if the first extra large raindrops had arrived. When fish start jumping like this, something is happening to the weather. At that moment, the world was totally composed of the elkhorn, a mythological brown trout, the weather, and me. And all that existed of me were thoughts about the elkhorn, the weather, and a mythological fish that may have been a fingerling of my imagination. The elkhorn looks just like what it is, a crack in the earth to mark where the Rocky Mountains end and the Great Plains begin. The giant mountains are black-backed with nearly the last of mountain pines. Their eastern sides turn brown and yellow as the tall prairie grasses begin, but there are occasional black spots where the pines scatter themselves out to get a last look back. This mythological brown trout and the canyon harmonized in my thoughts and dreams. The trout that might be real and close at hand was massive. Black on the back, yellow and brown on the sides, had black spots and a final fringe of white. I walked past 150, 200 yards of water where the little brookies were still bouncing like rain, and came finally to a beautiful stretch with not a fish jumping in it. At the head of the hole, the water parted on a big rock, swirled backwards, deepened, deposited, and finally lost depth and motion by drifting onward. Poets talk about spots of time, but it is really fishermen who experience eternity compressed into a moment. No one can tell what a spot of time is until suddenly the whole world is a fish, and the fish is gone. I shall remember that son of a bitch forever, a voice said. He was a big one. It could have been my brother, or it could have been the fish circling back in the air and bragging about himself behind my back. I turned and said to my brother, I missed him. He had seen it all, so if I had known of something else, I would have mentioned it. Instead, I repeated, I missed him. I looked down at my hands, and the palms were turned up. There wasn't anything I could have done about it, he said. You can't catch a big fish in the brush. In fact, I never saw anyone try it before. I figured he was just trying to sprinkle me with comfort, especially when I couldn't help seeing a couple of gigantic brown tails with gigantic black spots sticking out of his fishing basket. How did you catch yours? I asked. I was very excited and asked whatever I wanted to know. He said, I got them in the shallow open water where there weren't any bushes. I asked, big ones like in the shallow open water? He said, yes, big brown trout. You're used to fishing for big rainbow in big water, but big browns often feed along the edges of a bank, in a meadow where grasshoppers and even mice fall. You walk along the shallow water until you can see black backs sticking out and mud swirling around them. This left me even more dismayed, as I thought I had fished the hole perfectly and just the way my brother had taught me. Except he hadn't told me. What do you do when a fish goes up a tree? That's one trouble with hanging around a master. You pick up some of his stuff, like how to cast into a bush. After the fishing adventure, the two boys joined their father. We sat on the bank and the river went by, as always. It was making sounds to itself, and now it made sounds to us. It would be hard to find three men sitting side by side who knew better what a river was saying. On the Big Blackfoot River, above the mouth of the Belmont Creek, the banks are fringed by large ponderosa pines. In the slanting sun of late afternoon, the shadows of the great branches reached from across the river, and the trees took the river in their arms. The shadows continued up the bank until they included us. Upon reflection, like many fly fishermen in western Montana, where the summer days are almost Arctic in length, I often do not start fishing until the cool of the evening. Then, in the Arctic half-light of the canyon, all existence fades to a belonging with my soul and memories and the sounds of the big Blackfoot River and a 4-count rhythm and hope that a fish will rise. Eventually, all things merge into one and a river runs through it. The river was cut by the world's great flood and runs over rocks from the basement of time. On some of the rocks are timeless raindrops. Under the rocks are the words, and some of the words are theirs. I am haunted by waters. I am haunted by waters. I am haunted by waters. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing this beautiful, beautiful passage from the book. Through your narration of the story, your love of fly fishing comes through very clearly. Thank you for sharing that. 2 excellent, beautiful speeches. And to evaluate those speeches, we actually go to the evaluation portion of the meeting. And today, our general evaluator and evaluator number 2 is Elena. Elena, do you want to, before that, sorry. I want everybody to take a minute and give your feedback to Mike for his second speech. And after that, we will yield control to the general evaluator. So speaking about journaling, I use, because we are all digital Toastmasters, I use a product called OneNote to journal. We use OneNote to take notes in computers, office meetings. Do you know that it can be an excellent, excellent journaling tool? And as I'm reflecting my year, I will go to my OneNote and start from January, keep on going until I end up in December to reflect the good and the bad and the uglies. Hopefully you have your own favorite journaling tool. Could be a notebook, could be digital, could be a website, could be a blog, or could be a vlog if you're into audio and video. Any one of them could be a good journaling tool. So with that little tidbit about reflections, I hand over the control to our general evaluator, Alina.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'd be happy to evaluate our whole meeting. I'd like to start with our first evaluation.
Linda is the evaluator one.
Yes, with Linda. Linda, would you please evaluate our speaker, Rekha?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Being a backup evaluator, I didn't have the sheet that you evaluate from and all that. I really like to be organized when I do it, so I'm just going to do my winging it version instead of my organized version. But I know that Rekha was speaking from the persuasive influence. I believe that's the name of the pathway. So that gave me a clue there. And then I was excited when I read that it was the magic that makes leaders mentoring. That, just starting with the topic, it led me right into your speech because it really caught my attention and made me want to hear more from you. And then you set the mood in history with Homer's Odyssey and gave us the lesson from that story that I'm sure most of us can recall from early days. And that was a great way to start talking about the whole idea of mentoring, putting it back into history for us. And then you talked about sports, and you helped me to understand the difference between a coach, which is really helping someone with a skill, or a mentor where the mentee is really driving the growth. And that's a distinction that I had not heard before, so I appreciated that. So you did say at the core that the mentee is taking the strong initiatives. I took a note of that. I think that I need to take a little more strong initiative as a mentee. And then you were brilliant in adding your vice president education role, since you are in charge of the mentors and the mentees. That was brilliant to weave that in and use that to promote more mentors in Toastmasters, which is really a key part of our program of leading into leadership. As you said in your title, that's the magic, is having a mentor to be able to step up to the higher level of leadership and create that leadership magic. Overall, I think, and I always look forward to listening to your speeches, Rekha. You're a great storyteller. You have a calm, beautiful, articulate, and even voice. And at the same time, I would challenge you to use more vocal variety. You could shout and demand our attention and persuade us and hit us over the head with your voice if you wanted to, but maybe you want to just do it the calm way. And I guess I say to everybody on digital is the eye contact is so critical, because that's pretty much all we have is the headshot and the eye contact. So looking directly into the camera is so important. But I know I find that challenging to do too, because I'm looking at two different things, but I just have to, I'm kind of required almost to send you a challenge. So that would be my challenge to you. But I do say that your speech was overall very persuasive. You had a very clear call to action, and I would consider it to be a great success, because I do feel after listening to your speech, I would like to have an additional mentor for Toastmasters. I mean, I don't have any mentor for Toastmasters, but I'd like to have one for Toastmasters, because you were talking about the multiple mentors, so it's not like you just have to have one and done. So I call your speech a big success, and I thank you very much. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Linda. Wonderful evaluation. I'd like to start with the second evaluation on Michael's speech, an author's journey. I have to first say, just if I might get interrupted, I'm sorry about that. My internet connection is not great right now. Michael, I loved your speech. I found it very beautiful, especially the text you chose. It really showed that the passion for fly fishing, it really showed that when you were reading the text, that you really felt this with your heart. The text was also very descriptive and had a lot of adjectives, so it made it look very beautiful, the whole speech. I also felt that you were reading your speech was, your voice was very peaceful, but at the same time it had a lot of expressive moments to it. So it wasn't boring or anything. You really emphasized at the right moments, and the pace was also great. You made the pauses when it was necessary. I understood that there were quite a few sections from different parts from the text, right? And the transitions were really great. I think you chose really well those sections, so it wasn't some like serious interruption in between of those. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot about fly fishing, but I really felt like I found out a little bit more about it from the text. Also, there was an ending to your speech, which was, there was like this last sentence which really emphasized that it's an ending or a sort of a conclusion. Yeah, I really loved how you read the text. And I'm pretty new to this. I didn't know that there are such projects where you actually can it's not a prepared speech, but actually reading. So thank you so much, Michael, for this, and I'm look forward for the next speech. I'm going back to my general evaluation, and I'd like to call on for our timers report. Linda, would you tell us timings?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So tonight we had a great array of Jolene. I didn't hold up the timer, so it's a mystery, but it was about 1.5 minutes when I started paying attention. And then Michael chimed in on table topics for 1:22 and Saeed for 2 minutes. And then we were able to hear our speech from Rekha for 6 minutes and 15 seconds. And Michael was spot on at 10 minutes and 4 seconds. And for evaluations, they're to go for 2 to 3 minutes, and I was over at 3 minutes, 33 seconds. And Elena evaluated for 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Linda. Great job. I'd like to call now on for grammarian report, Jolene.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters and guests. Unless I missed it, I did not hear anybody use the word of the day, reflection. Did anybody want to challenge me? You did, you did. I apologize if I missed them. Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Michael. Sorry about that. Okay, here's what I did hear. Sai, I love the words orchestrator, master of ceremonies. Technologically, we're making progress. Socially, we've not matured. I appreciated what you also said, which was capturing the essence of mentoring. Beautiful. Rekha explained coaches teach skills and mentors guide and nurture. That was really lovely. Michael said no distinction between fly fishing and religion, harmonized in my heart and dreams. Final fringe of white, still bouncing like rain, and spots of time. Those were all eloquent words, and there were more. And for the purposes of time, that's what I'm reporting. As far as filler words, yes, Sai, you had many wonderful things to say. You also had quite a few ahs, and I stopped counting. So there were too many to count, so please be aware of the word ah. Also a so was thrown in there. Linda had three ums, and Elena, your filler word that you like, that's your favorite, is like. And that's it for my grammarians report. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jolene. Such a thorough report for everyone. We can all learn from it. And as for I think everyone did a great job. We started on time, and Sai did a great job as a Toastmaster. We filled in the roles for all the missing functionaries, so that was great. I had one comment for Jay. Unfortunately, Jay is not here, but as a table topics master, I think we could also sometimes call upon people to say if no one is volunteering. So it was a little bit unclear as who is going to speak. I loved Rekha's speech. It was very inspiring about mentoring someone and being a mentee as well. I also thought that everyone did a great job. So I really love this. So let's just keep doing it. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster, Sai.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot for being the evaluator 2 in such short notice and still able to have time to evaluate the speaker number 2 and also evaluate the meeting in general. Thanks a lot, both to Linda and Elena for stepping up. And also Jay, I didn't really thank him. He left even before I thanked him. So we are coming to the end of the meeting and we have 5 more minutes. I would like to recognize our guest, Shakti Arunachalam, who joined us today. Shakti, I mean, you spent an evening with us. How do you think this meeting can help you going forward?
No, this was excellent, and to be frank, this is my first experience attending a Toastmaster session. I've never attended anything earlier. I was always like trying to attend, but yes, I made up a point as New Year is coming. I made up a point, and I think I have got a right club to join, and I will continue joining, and want to be a member. That decision I have made up after this meeting. It was really helpful, and and it is very organized. And yes, I still need to catch up the agenda items, but it is really good. It was really helpful. I feel that definitely it will help me for the reason that I joined.
Excellent, Shakti. Thank you for giving your candid feedback. And do we have your email so we can share information about our club to you?
Yes, I am just typing it.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. So I think my duties are done as your Toastmaster orchestrator today. Handing it back to Madam President.
Thank you so much, Sai. Beautiful job tonight. Thank you. I will hand over control for a few minutes to Rekha, who will be filling roles first.
Thank you, Jolene. Let's take a few minutes to fill in roles for next week. Our next meeting is on December 16th, same time, same place. We, I believe, have all the roles open. I have not looked up the agenda. If anyone in this group has signed up for a role, please let me know. If not, we'll just go down the roster and find out who is going
I
to be.
think I'm Toastmaster.
Oh, nice.
Linda, lovely.
I think there might be a speech or two already. Oh, that's right. There's a panel. I'm just remembering now. There's a panel discussion and there's room for 1 speaker. Last time I checked.
Okay, so that I do remember. That's the panel discussion that Angela is leading, correct? That is right. So for 1 speech left, and I am going to volunteer Elena. I have not heard your speech in a while.
Sure, why not?
And you're this close, I know, to in your pathways manuals, so I would love to hear a speech from one of them.
Rekha, you're doing your job greatly. Thank you for answering me. I mean,
I'm mentored very well by Jolene, so as you can see.
thanks.
Yeah. All right. So we do have a panel discussion. Angela is going to be leading a panel. We have Roxy, Donna, Jolene, I believe 3 panelists on. And please attend. It's going to be a lovely, lovely panel. We'll hear from Elena as well, which means we don't probably have time for table topics. Do we? Is that? Yes, we don't have time for table topics or for education moment. So what we will do is we need at least 1 evaluator, of course, for Elena's speech. So who is going to step up as her evaluator? Tammy. Yes, we will have you as the evaluator for Elena.
Hey, Rekha, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Does Angela need an evaluator because that is part of a project that she's doing?
I do remember it's part of a project. I'll have to reach out to her and ask if she needs a.
You might want to do that as well in case.
Let's plan for 1 more evaluator, and then if not needed, we can just take them off. If not, let's just have them. Who else wants to be an evaluator? This is Michael. There we go. And Tammy, and then we need a grammarian, timer, and general evaluator. Sai. Who would you like to be? I can hear you, Sai.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure about next week, December 16th. So I'm going to, if I am able to attend the meeting, I will take a role.
Okay.
At this moment, I'm not able to commit for next week.
All right. So with that, I believe everybody. So Jolene, I know you're on the panel, so I will leave you out for now. And I will not be here either. So we will find the other roles. I'm a lovely Toastmaster. Definitely is going to be behind you, trying to find where you are. I will be gone for a few weeks, so I'll be back on January 13th. I believe will be my first meeting. So until then, it's one of the officers is going to step in and fill in for this part of the meeting and make sure that we have roles covered for the upcoming meetings. All right. All right.
Same, me too. I'll be gone on the January 30th as well.
All the way through January 13th. Yeah. Okay. So we'll see. I'll see you back when I'm back. Let's make sure we are both back on the January 13th meeting. Shakti, I hope we will see you back. You'll be a member. You probably would have had a couple of speeches by then.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to hand over the meeting back to our president, Jolene.
Thank you, Rekha. Thank you so much. Now for the business portion of our meeting. First of all, we will be continuing formal inductions, both online and in person, as the weeks progress. We've had some other things going on in our agendas, so I haven't been doing it, but we will continue until all members are formally inducted. Please look for an email from me regarding that. The second thing, what are you doing on December 23rd and on December 30th? Think about that for a second. Those are Monday evenings. Guess what? You will not be here. That's the good news. We're canceling both of those meetings for the 23rd and the 30th to accommodate holiday. We want you to enjoy your loved ones, your holidays. We will not be meeting. We're all taking a nice, well-deserved rest. So please know, if you come, I hope you enjoy some spiked eggnog alone, because we will not be with you, joining you. Also, we have an officers melee. We have an officers training starting super early, which is this Saturday, December 14th. If you are an officer, or even if you're not an officer and you'd like to go to that training and you need the information, please email me personally and I will email you the registration information if you'd like to start your officers training early. Normally they start in January, but they're kicking one off in December. Also, please mark your calendars for February 15th. February 15th is the Leaders Breakfast. How many people have been to the Leaders Breakfast? Me, Michael, Sai. Okay, so for the rest of you, all Toastmasters are welcome, whether you are in formal leadership or not, because as far as I'm concerned, everybody's a leader in their own life, be it in business, in their families, in relationships. We are all leaders. The Leaders Breakfast is Saturday, February 15th. It is going to be held in Bellevue at a lovely hotel. It's a breakfast and a way for us to gather in community and hear fabulous speakers and ignite the leadership within you. Our featured speaker is Gary Schmidt. He's a distinguished Toastmaster and the former international president of Toastmasters. He will be speaking at the event. I'm bringing this up too because it is my leadership project, my high performance leadership project, and I know the details of this project intimately, and so I'm promoting it. And thank you for listening and engaging me. And I think that's it for today. Everyone, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of this holiday season. We will be here next Monday for the panel discussion, which is very different. We hope you will come back, and we'd love to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Night.